So today we have Dr. Beth Kaplan, and here is why she is awesome. She's a keynote speaker, researcher, executive coach, and author. Her work focuses predominantly on belonging and leadership development, which she was recognized for by the University of Pennsylvania as one of the world leading experts on belonging. And her book, Braving the Workplace, Belonging at the Breaking Point, it's now available. Combines groundbreaking research. It's so groundbreaking, I can't even wrap my lips around the word. Research with an actionable framework to help individuals and organizations cultivate a sense of belonging while promoting mental health. Hello, Beth.
Hi, so great to be here with you today.
Stoked. Belonging. I think there was a drinking game in that bio about the word belonging. So I think that's going to be a big focus for today.
I feel it. Yeah, I feel it.
Before we get into any of that, though, Beth, I do have to ask the most important question. Is it the most important? I don't know, but it is the one we like to kick off with, which is, what is your best or worst employee experience?
Oh, that's a good one. So much I could say. All right, I'm going to start out with performance review season, right? I mean, who gets excited for that? This girl right here. I mean, why? Why do you ask? Well, not 10 minutes before one of my performance reviews, my boss gave me an award in front of the entire room, and I was beyond proud. So I sat into his room. I was excited. I was like, let it happen. And he said, Beth, you are the best employee I have on that leadership team of mine, but you don't belong here. And I was stunned. I felt sucker punched. Like, I don't know. I was 15 years old and my first boyfriend was breaking up with me. He went on to tell me why I didn't fit. I just heard nothing. My mind was in a different place and I was devastated. I was the person, Russell, who welcomed all of our new hires and created the first sense of belonging they had at the company, but I didn't fit. And so I was filled with rage and sadness. But of course, I didn't let it show. So you thought I would have quit, right? Wrong. For the next 12 months, I doubled down, spending every moment I could trying to win gold stars. I worked until 3 a.m. I traveled more. I took on more assignments. And about a year later, in my next review, I decided I was going to be open and honest with my boss. I was going to tell him I was exhausted. I was spent. I was not just figuratively killing myself. I was truly thinking of killing myself. To which he responded with crickets. He said, I'm so sorry I have to go. I've got another meeting to get to. And I just didn't know what to do with that. I mean, you can imagine I told my boss something I had not told a doctor, my husband, or anyone else for that matter. I was legitimately thinking of killing myself.
How do you get through something like that?
So interestingly enough, that was my breaking point. I'm sure you can imagine. When I told him I was exhausted and broken and thinking of ending in my life, his response or his lack of response was the moment I needed in life. When I finally understood, you can't belong to something until you belong to yourself, right? Belonging isn't about how hard you work, how loyal you are, or how much sacrifice you put in. It isn't something you can earn by pushing past your limits or proving your worth to someone else who will truly never see you, right? Belonging is something you need to be for yourself, and it's only something you can decide. And that's what happened to me.
And this is going to sound horrible. I'm glad that happened to you.
Yes.
No, in the sense that you had that light bulb moment, you had that, well, it's on me, but how many people don't? How many people in your situation would go to that horrible leader and double down going, I don't have a sense of belonging, and my boss, even more so with crickets, doesn't think I belong and devalues me even more. I know some people would double down and go spiral after that, even more so.
Absolutely. Here's the thing. We're all hardwired for deep human connection, right? Without it, we suffer. However, there's something that makes us feel deeply unworthy of it at the same time. So when my boss didn't say anything to me, it spoke volumes. It did. And I will tell you, that's the point where I did quit after that experience. And I spent the next several years really trying to understand my own experience and went to grad school. My doctoral dissertation became my personal rewrite, I think. I knew I had a story to tell. I just didn't know what it was or how to tell it. And that's what happened. I really never sought out to research belonging, by the way. It's kind of one of those things where I just kept wondering why me and the people around me felt like they were unworthy of the spaces they were trying to fit into. That's really what happened.
And unfortunately, a lot of us at that earlier part in our careers do not have the tools to pivot like that. Yes. A lot of us are, just happy to have a job, or,
or we're told
or we're looking at leaders. And in your case, we're assuming people in positions of power over us are leaders. when,
Awesome.
as you're demonstrating, they're not. And yet we're expecting this behavior of a Brene Brown or a Simon Sinek when
Yes.
that person's probably barely managing day to day. And yet
Yes.
we're looking at them as a model of behavior.
That's right.
And so it's heartbreaking that those people in those positions don't get the impact they have on us, especially
Yes.
those that are young early in their careers and could impact them for better or worse for the rest
That's
of their
right.
careers.
Yeah, this is the thing. Workplace PTSD is a real thing.
Mhm.
And I quit. But let me tell anyone out there listening, while I quit, the PTSD did not. So that has followed me for several years afterwards. So those of you thinking, you know what, I want to quit. What you need to think about first is, how do I deal with this before I quit? And I know that may sound really hard because let's be honest, probably wouldn't have spoken truth to power to my boss. That was really hard. Getting the words out were vulnerable enough. And so here's the real. If you don't settle some of the PTSD and the trauma that you're experiencing, it's going to follow you. We take with us up to 5 managers to every job we go to. I mean, trust me, I don't want to take him anywhere, but he follows me. He comes with me where I go. And the thing is, I know so many people out there feel this way too. And the problem is we don't talk about it enough. Why? Because it feels like it's an unworthy trauma to some, right? You see other people experiencing what you feel is worse trauma. And that's not it. Trauma's trauma. And so you need to deal with it or it becomes the master of you. So you need to master it.
So many times, I mean, obviously, I kick off every episode with that question. And as I mentioned on the show, almost every single time people reach back, not last week, not 3 months ago, it's decades ago.
Yes.
It's something that happened to them at prom in grade 12. Like, it is that visceral that they carry this trauma with them. And people are like, oh, it's just a bad day. No, you'd be amazed at what can break cracks in the foundation of people's identity, their sense of belonging, and that they
Yes.
carry with them for every relationship moving forward at the workplace.
That's right. And you know, you bring up such an amazing point. I remember going through the process of having traumatic work experience and people saying, you know, just get a good night's sleep. You'll feel better in the morning. This is one of those things you won't feel better about in the morning. Belonging uncertainty is a secret killer in the workplace. It's probably one of the most biggest traumas we experience. And it's not one of those that just goes away the next morning.
So let's set the table, Beth.
Yeah.
Let's define some things, because that's a big
Yes.
part of the show is
Here
we talk about things and never define them. So belonging. What is belonging for people in the workplace?
Belonging is the innate desire to be part of something larger than yourself without sacrificing who you are. And that's the first half is something we know very well. It's the sacrificing who you are part, right? So you think about the arch nemesis of belonging, it's fitting. And why? Because fitting in means giving up parts of yourself to be part of that greater good. Where belonging doesn't mean giving up who you are, it means being who you are.
So how do you know an organization is getting this? Their leadership, their executive, like what gets the Dr. Beth Kaplan seal of approval that an organization has figured out this belonging thing culturally?
Okay. So my gut reaction to that is when an organization says they're going to do something and they do it. So their values are more than just aspirational. Okay. When they don't have things like we're a family, that really just gets me. That's traumatic. Because listen, all of us come in with different package, right? For me, I grew up in unfortunately a very dysfunctional household. So for me, when a company said they were a family, I ran to it. I was so bored. But you can't be loyal to something that can't be loyal back, and you can't fire family. I've tried. It doesn't work. And you can fire your employees or you can fire your employer. So that being said, to me, when companies live the values that they write on paper, that's when I know that they're going in the right direction.
And trust is so embedded in that as well, because how many organizations will say a thing, here's your values, it's on a website, it's on a poster, but the actions are not matching up with the things we use for recruiting. Like people aren't living the environment in which we are promoting the environment is. And people aren't dumb. They lose trust in organizations and leadership between the actions done and the words said. And that if that gap gets bigger, people don't trust. And that I think would be pretty foundational to belonging.
100%. Do you know what the number one value that people want from their companies are?
Now I'm super curious. No.
It shocks some people. Care. Care is the number one thing that people want. So if we take it back a step, we know that the managers, usually your frontline manager or your direct manager, is the number one influence on our sense of belonging in the workplace. And the number one thing that employees want, not just from their teams or their companies, is care. And care is a huge spectrum. Sometimes people dump care into the thoughtfulness bucket and they leave. But it's a big spectrum. It's care can be that thoughtfulness, but it also could be advocacy. Care to say my name in a room of opportunity I'm not in. Care can be candor. A lot of the times I hear, Beth, I'm so nervous to tell so-and-so the truth about their performance. And I always say, clear is kind. You want to be clear with them. You want to give them feedback because most of us got into leadership roles to coach and grow our people. And the way you coach and grow is through honesty, care, trust, and respect. So when you think about that, if anyone out there is listening and you need to give that hard feedback, you want to do it in a way that's caring, that people understand that you're doing it for their best interests because you want the best.
I want to dive into the elephant in the room, just considering the world we are currently living in, because DEI is a constant one that comes up, and it's almost always now associated with belonging. You'll even see DEIB. I've even seen mathematical equations that say diversity plus equity plus inclusivity equals belonging.
Yes.
What is your feeling? I mean, there's this huge attack on DEI programs, on the validity of them. How is that sitting in your world?
It's an interesting time we're living in. I have to say, DEI has gotten a really bad rap, especially recently. And I like to separate it from belonging, not because of the bad rap it's getting. Please, anyone out there, the reason why I separate it is because D, the E, and the I are super important, each in their own construct. And I feel that by lumping them together, we've done them a disservice. And the thing is, it becomes something that can be attacked readily because it's one program name and it's something that's become a scapegoat. So I never really link it to belonging. In fact, my research disconnects it from the DEI structure. I've had a lot of folks come for me, let's be honest, around this topic. And so I typically give them the research that supports that they're different constructs and they need to be respected separately. There's all those sayings, and I think you know me at this point, I'm not that cheesy. I try not to be, at least, where, it's diversity is the seat at the table, or whatever the jargon is. I don't really see belonging within that construct, with the exception of the fact that when you are allowed in a place, which is inclusion, or when you have diversity of representation or diversity of thought, it does factor into your sense of belonging. But there's so many differences, especially with inclusion, right? That's the question I get asked most often. Aren't they the same thing? No, they're not. They're not at all the same thing. However, they can feel good. And that's, I think, why people confuse them so much. But make no mistake, inclusion is something others determine for you, whereas belonging is something you decide for yourself.
I like that, especially from a definition standpoint, because if we can't differentiate, we're just going to blend them together, to your point.
100%.
And then your employees get confused and they don't understand what success for themselves look like.
Right.
And I love that you highlighted that there is a diversity here.
Yes.
Within, I know DEI, I get it, but at the same time, we have to understand what these terms might mean different things to different people, which is also a part of the diversity lens that we need to better understand.
Oh, it's heartbreaking, to be honest with you. A lot of the times I've been talking to people that are DEI professionals and they're just heartbroken of what's going on. And, it's unfortunately a lesson that we're learning, is that maybe it wasn't set up correctly to begin with. Although the intentions were so beautiful, I want to celebrate it all, truthfully. But where we're at now just feels really hard for people. And most of the people in the DEI work got into it for the hard work, and now it's just become hard work. Yeah.